Could $50 really pay for an entire day in Prague, including a place to sleep? Not just coffee and sightseeing, I mean breakfast, lunch, dinner, public transport, a hostel bed, and some of the most beautiful places in one of Europe's most famous cities. At the time of this challenge, $50 gives us roughly 1,050 Czech koruna. And before we spend a single one, here's the plan. Accommodation, about $16. Transport, $7. Food, $19. Coffee, $3. Sightseeing, $0. And roughly $5 stays untouched as emergency money. Sounds manageable. But there's a problem. One bad restaurant, one expensive attraction, or one overpriced hostel, and this challenge is over. So stay until the end, because we're counting every single crown. And if budget travel, hidden places, and seeing how far your money really goes around the world sounds like your kind of adventure, subscribe to Hidden Horizon. Now, let's spend $50 in Prague. The challenge begins with transport. Prague has trams, buses, trolley buses, and a metro system that connects almost everything a traveler needs. Instead of paying for individual rides all day, our first purchase is a 24-hour public transport ticket. Cost? 150 Czech koruna, about $7. That ticket means we can use Prague's public transport throughout the day without constantly calculating another fare. And if you're arriving at Václav Havel Airport, there's another useful trick. Skip the expensive private transfer. Prague's normal public transport connects the airport with the metro network using Trolleybus 59. So immediately, we're avoiding the kind of transport decision that can destroy a small budget before the day has even started. But here's the interesting part. Once we reach central Prague, we're barely going to use transport at all, because Prague's greatest budget hack has always been free: your feet.
By now, Prague is waking up. Trams slide through the streets, shop shutters open, the smell of fresh bread starts escaping from bakeries. And this is where tourists can make their first expensive mistake. Sit down for brunch in the middle of Old Town, and you can spend the equivalent of an entire day's breakfast budget in 20 minutes. Instead, we're doing what budget travelers should do everywhere. Step away from the postcard street, find a neighborhood bakery or supermarket. A couple of fresh Czech rolls, something savory, and a pastry can keep breakfast around 60 koruna if you keep it simple. That's less than $3. Nothing luxurious. But that's the point. We aren't spending money on a table with a famous view. We're saving that money for the city itself. Running total, 210 koruna spent, 840 remaining. And we haven't seen Prague yet. That changes now.
Walk toward Old Town Square early enough, and Prague suddenly explains why millions of people want to come here. Pastel facades, church towers, narrow medieval streets, and the astronomical clock sitting quietly above a square that will become packed later in the day. The price to stand here? Nothing. From Old Town, follow the streets toward the river, and eventually you reach Charles Bridge. This is where Prague starts feeling almost unreal. Stone statues line the bridge. Prague Castle rises above the rooftops. The Vltava flows underneath. Street musicians begin setting up. And if you arrive early enough, there are moments when the bridge actually feels peaceful. Again, 0 koruna. This is the secret behind today's challenge. We're not trying to do everything. We're choosing experiences where Prague itself is the attraction. Because once you start buying entrance tickets for every tower, museum, palace, and exhibition, $50 disappears very quickly. But walking through this city, that's still free. And we're about to turn away from the busiest route completely.
Cross the river and climb toward Prague Castle.
Most visitors follow the same path, but just beyond the crowds is a tiny historic area called Nový Svět. Quiet lanes, old houses, small doors. Almost none of the chaos you just left behind. This is exactly the kind of place Hidden Horizon is about. Not necessarily a secret, but something incredibly easy to miss when everyone is racing from landmark to landmark. Take 10 minutes here, put the phone away for a moment, listen to the footsteps against the cobblestones, and suddenly, the $50 challenge stops feeling like a budget challenge. It just feels like Prague. Cost so far? Still 210 koruna, but now comes the first real test: food.
Around Old Town, tourist menus can make Prague look much more expensive than it really is.
So there's one Czech phrase worth remembering: denní menu, daily menu. Many local restaurants offer weekday lunch specials that can be significantly cheaper than ordering from the normal evening menu. Instead of eating directly beside a major attraction, walk a few streets away and look for a simple chalkboard advertising the day's dishes. Our target? 150 koruna, around $7. Maybe it's soup. Maybe it's a simple Czech main. Maybe it's something you can't pronounce on the first attempt. That's part of the experience. The point isn't finding Prague's cheapest possible calories, it's finding food that still feels connected to the place you're visiting. And that's an important difference. Budget travel shouldn't mean experiencing less, it should mean wasting less. Lunch, 150 koruna. Running total, 360 spent, 690 left. And now, we have to deal with the most dangerous line in this entire budget, accommodation.
This is where the challenge could collapse. Central Prague has beautiful hotels. We're not staying in one. For this budget, we're looking at dorm accommodation booked ahead, flexible dates, and locations slightly outside the most expensive part of Old Town. Our target is roughly 340 Czech koruna, around $16. Now, this is the part of the challenge where planning matters most. Hostel prices change dramatically depending on season, weekends, events, and how late you book. So don't land in Prague expecting that exact number every night. But on lower price dates, budget dorm beds can bring the accommodation line low enough to make a $50 day possible. We're not paying for marble bathrooms. We're paying for somewhere secure to shower, charge a phone, lock a backpack away, and sleep. That's enough. Accommodation paid. Running total, 700 koruna. Money remaining, 350. And somehow, we still have an evening in Prague ahead of us.
After walking most of the city, this is the moment when convenience starts attacking your budget. You're tired, you're surrounded by cafes, and suddenly every chair looks worth paying for. We're allowing ourselves one small coffee break. Budget, 60 koruna. Nothing fancy, just a coffee. Sit down, slow down. Watch the tram roll past. Because being on a budget doesn't mean sprinting through a city trying not to spend money. Sometimes the smartest purchase is the one that lets you enjoy where you already are. Running total, 760 koruna. Remaining, 290. And that gives us enough for dinner, plus one final Prague experience that costs absolutely nothing. Instead of paying for an observation deck, head toward Letná Park. As the light begins to soften, Prague opens up beneath you. Bridges stretch across the Vltava. Church towers rise above red rooftops. The city starts glowing. And that view? Free. This might be my favorite moment of the entire challenge. Not because it saved money, but because if you removed the budget completely, you would still want to be here. That's when you know you found a genuinely good travel experience. Letná sunset. 0 Czech koruna. And now, there's only one thing left. Dinner. We have 290 koruna, but remember, 100 of that is supposed to survive the day untouched. So our final meal cannot cost more than 190. Let's see if we can do it.
For dinner, we're keeping things simple again. No restaurant overlooking Old Town Square, no giant tourist menu, a self-service eatery. Inexpensive local counter or supermarket-based dinner can keep the final meal around 150 koruna. Dinner, 150 Czech koruna. That takes our spending to 910 koruna. But earlier, we also allowed roughly 40 koruna for a small pastry or snack during the day. Final spending, 950 Czech koruna. And now, the moment this entire video has been building toward. Did $50 survive Prague?
We started with approximately 1,050 Czech koruna. Here's where it went. Accommodation, 340 Czech koruna. Transport, 150 Czech koruna. Breakfast, 60 Czech koruna. Lunch, 150 Czech koruna. Dinner, 150 Czech koruna. Coffee, 60 Czech koruna. Snack, 40 Czech koruna. Paid attractions, 0 Czech koruna. Total spent, 950 Czech koruna. Money remaining, 100 Czech koruna. Roughly $5. We actually did it! A bed, 3 meals, coffee, transport, Old Town, Charles Bridge, Prague Castle area, a hidden historic neighborhood, and sunset over the city. All without crossing $50.
But here's the real lesson. Prague isn't cheap because everything costs nothing.
It's affordable when you know what's worth paying for, and what isn't. Spend on the bed, spend on local food, use public transport intelligently. Then let Prague give you the rest. Its streets, its bridges, its architecture, its parks, its views. Those are some of the best parts of the city, and they don't ask for a credit card. So yes, $50 can take you surprisingly far in Prague. But now I want to know something. Which city should face the $50 challenge next? Istanbul? Budapest? Bangkok? Or somewhere completely unexpected? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to find out how far one budget can take us around the world, subscribe to Hidden Horizon, because the next challenge might be somewhere everyone says is too expensive. And that's exactly why we're going. Hidden Horizon. Discover the world beyond the map.